my name is Brooke Lipman.
And I'm Dr. Deb Lipman.
And this is Wine Together,
a podcast where we drink some wine and have a chat.
So sit back, relax, and get that corkscrew ready.
Who's introducing?
You are. I'm going to let you do that from now on.
Okay, so our guest today is my daughter, Brooke's sister, Emilia Lipman. So Emilia lives in Rochester, New York. Hey, it got cold here again. Is it cold there again?
No, right now it's actually really nice out. Like the past week has been so nice. It's really sunny actually. All the snow's melted, all the ice is gone. And I've been spending a lot of time outside trying to go for walks a lot more because it's just like the weather is perfect.
Well, walks are important. Mm-hmm. Sunshine's important. So I'm glad you're doing that. Thanks for taking care of yourself like that. Mama likes to hear that. Hope you're drinking plenty of water.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to cut back on soda a lot, so
good for you.
Drinking a lot of like seltzer water. Like right now, I've got some bubbly blueberry pomegranate.
Nice.
And if I finish that, I've got a Tops brand cherry sparkling water that tastes like cough syrup. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And trying to drink more regular water too, but...
Okay. All right, so tell me about that bottle of wine behind you.
I have not actually opened it. I am not trying. So Brooke's going to have to tell me how it tastes, like how it is.
Oh, we couldn't find it.
We couldn't find
it. Oh,
yeah?
I forgot to tell you, we couldn't find it.
That's fine. It is a sort of mystery bottle, I guess. It was a secret Santa gift, or like white elephant gift, I think.
Okay.
So it just ended up in my possession.
I tell you what, save it. When we're together, we'll have it.
Yeah.
How's that sound?
Yeah, so that'll be back here.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll share that. We'll drink for you.
Yeah.
Rose.
What are you guys drinking?
What is that one?
It's a Primitivo. Because we like the Primitivos. I have to tell you, Brooke, I don't remember if it was, I think this was the first time that you and I had a Primitivo together, was Freiburg, and Emilia loves Freiburg.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Freiburg was amazing.
Yeah.
I would go back there. Lots of stairs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Big hills.
Big hills, yes. Brooke and I went last year for the Puppet Museum.
It was awesome.
And we happened to go at the same time of year that they have the puppets around town. So we were trying to, do they call it a puppet parade. So you go around looking for the different puppets, and we think we found one. But do you remember how many there were supposed to be?
I think they were like 14.
Yes, something like that.
Like
so anyway, we don't know. We think we found one. But anyway, we went into the puppet museum, which was way down at the river, so way down. And
yeah.
But before we walked down, we stopped and had lunch, and we were having. I had pasta.
I had a pizza with an egg on it.
Yeah. And so we asked the waiter which red wine, and he suggested a Primitivo, and we have just been Primitivo crazy. We have kind of become Primitivo fans. So when we see one on sale or one we haven't tried, we grab it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, Brooke loves Freiburg, I think, as much
Yes.
as you. So, like, Brooke would move there
Oh yeah, definitely.
in a second.
Yeah, I would love to move to Bern someday. Bern is like, I would to
Oh,
live in Bern.
I was just in Bern last week one
Right.
day, right? Or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. Anyway, I was in Bern last Friday evening, and I had been to Bern earlier in the week. So I went to Bern a couple times last week, but Bern's Fastnacht was last week. So
Oh,
so we had Fastnacht here, and then the next week
Yeah.
it was in Bern. So yeah,
I,
that was a lot of
so
fun.
at Starbucks recently, we've been having to, they've changed the policy so that we have to like write on or draw on every cup. And when I have the time to, I like to write little fun facts on the cup. A lot of them are about space, but one of them was about Fastnacht.
Oh,
I was
nice.
like, oh, fun fact, in
Yeah,
Switzerland they celebrate Fastnacht, which represents the cows being able to go up the mountains again in spring.
yeah. So it's yeah. So it and yeah, and you had it right at the right time too. So
Hmm.
so very good. Okay, so we try to not speak about politics on here.
Okay.
So we'll try to just keep it light because, I don't think we have anything good to say
Mm-hmm.
in that arena anyway.
Yeah, and we try not to curse either because like
Yes.
it's a lot of work to bleep it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and so your brother is like a tough, tough, tough cookie when it comes to guests on our show.
Yeah.
'Cause he just can't.
Yeah, but he
Just-
also got us like 170 some views on YouTube.
Oh,
So
so okay, your work's cut out for you. All right, girl. So anyway, I won't. We're gonna veer away from that. But I do kind of want to know. I definitely want to know about Rochester. Like, how close are you to? Is Lake Erie? That would be the big lake near
Our
you?
closest one is Lake Ontario.
Ontario
actually.
is close to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lake
Because-
Ontario is just to the north, and it's like stretches across the border. So like
Oh.
on our side, we're in America, and then on the other side, which we can't even see,
Okay.
is Canada.
Okay.
And that goes over up to Niagara Falls. Yeah, so like on the drive to Niagara, if you take the scenic route, you're driving basically along Lake Ontario the entire time.
Okay, that's the route I want to take. Then that definitely
Oh, yeah.
sounds like
It's
the
an
route I want to take.
45 minutes, so it makes the trip like an hour or 2 hours to get to Niagara, but it's worth it.
Oh my goodness, I would love it.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so have you been hiking lately? 'Cause it's been
Yeah,
2 years since you've been here.
yeah. I actually went recently to an area in the next town over with some waterfalls. That was a lot of fun. We thought we hiked the wrong trail. We were like, oh, why can't we see all the waterfalls? And so we were like, well, let's back step and we'll find the entrance to the other trail. And turns out we were hiking the right trail and we just hiked it twice because it was just really short. So like we
Okay.
didn't even know. We were like, oh, we've already done it twice now.
Okay, so did you see the waterfalls?
We saw some of them.
Oh.
Like we saw 2 of the 3 major waterfalls, but we couldn't really figure out where the third one was. But like they were really nice. Yeah, I got some good pictures
Oh,
too.
good. I can't wait to see them. Good, good, good. Yeah, Dad and I, where did we go last week, Brooke?
I don't know.
Let's see. Oh, last week we went. A couple weeks ago we were in Zurich. Last week, and I went back to Zurich. I gotta tell you about that in just a few minutes. But last week we ended up in Schaffhausen.
Oh,
So Schaffhausen is close to the Rhine Falls. So we walked past the Rhine Falls and then had another 5K to go before we got to the end of our hike in Schaffhausen. So the Rhine Falls are kind of like the Swiss Niagara Falls. I don't know that they're as tall, but yeah, you definitely have to see the photos that I took.
Mhm.
Because it was so funny because we knew we would be, dumb me, I thought we were ending I thought Schaffhausen. I forgot that Schaffhausen was past the Rhine Falls. I thought the Rhine Falls were in Schaffhausen, but they're in the little town next to Schaffhausen. And so, as we were approaching the falls, you could hear them before you could see them. Right? They're that big and that loud. And I was like getting all giddy. I was like so excited. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. And then, of course, it was so busy because it was a nice day out. And,
Yeah.
And that was our last nice day because it got cold Monday, right?
Yeah.
It started getting cold again. And so, but it was just so beautiful. I was so glad I got to go back. And so I wanted to go back to Schaffhausen, the town, because Dad and I were pretty tired when we ended the hike. And so we just kind of rushed through the town, the old city of Schaffhausen. And I want to go back because it just looked phenomenal. And I really want to spend some time there. So I was going to go this week, and the weather just wasn't good for being outdoors. But I did go back to Zurich because they have this like cactus. I want to call it a cactus house, but it's like a cactus exhibit, and it's, of course, it is someone's collection. Because and it's someone. He started collecting in like, I don't know, maybe it was. I don't remember if it was 1830 something or 1873 or something. It's when he started this collection, or maybe that's when he gave it away to the town of Zurich. Anyway, he got sick and he couldn't keep up with this cactus collection that he had. So he gave it to the town of Zurich, and they have all these different greenhouses from cactuses from all over the world. And it's just really, really, really cool. And so I was telling your dad and Brooke that when you go into the Egyptian room, it's closed all up. There are no open doors or anything, and it's so humid in there. And there's like a little water feature in there, I guess, to help keep it humid, because I guess those cacti thrive on the humidity. But so many of the cacti were like snakes. They look like snakes, and they're over your head. And so I'm like walking like this through there, so afraid that they were going to touch me or hiss at me, whatever. It was just, but it was so beautiful. There was different colors. There were flowers on some of them. It was absolutely. I just had such a good time. It really was a lot of fun. So I'll go back there.
Yeah, recently I learned Rochester has this nice little museum, the Rochester Museum and Science Center. It's like a little science museum. I didn't get to see too much in the museum itself, but it's free every first Wednesday of the month. Amazon sponsors a free day there from, I think it's like noon to 5 p.m. or 1 to 5 p.m. And all the parts of all three parts are free. They have like an amphitheater, the museum, and a planetarium. So getting into all three of them is free. So we went to the planetarium, which was really great. We missed the first show, but we got the planetary spectacular show. Is what it was, where they just talk about different planets and other celestial bodies in our solar system. It was really cool. I've never gotten to go to a planetarium before, so that was really awesome. They even had beanbag chairs to lay on in there.
Oh, that's cool. Nice. Well, we went to one last year. Do you remember?
Yeah, in Iceland? Yeah, that one was really cool.
So it's been about almost a year ago, probably Wednesday was a year ago.
They even still have the original projector, telescope projector from the 70s, the 60s, I think. Wow. I think it was 1979 or maybe 1969. And I learned a lot of really interesting things. Rochester was apparently huge in the space race and space exploration. The engines, I think they were called the Genesis engines, or they might have been something else that they used in most of the rocket flights. These were the secondary engines. So after those giant tank engines that are just full of fuel and they shoot off, after those drop off, the secondary engines ignite to push the craft out of orbit. Those engines were designed, built, and tested all in Niagara, New York.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and the cameras that they used on all of these space flights from 1959 to 1987 were designed in Rochester and built in Rochester.
Oh, cool. Is that where the Eastman Kodak place was? Was that Rochester?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, back in the day when I was doing film photography, I only used Eastman Kodak film. I did not
Kodak
use
building,
Fujifilm.
you can see it from my apartment. You can go outside and see the Kodak building.
I think Grandpa Lipman worked there.
No, he worked at a little. He talked about it. He worked at sort of like a little photo shack, a little bit out of the way, a little bit out of Rochester, more towards the lake.
Okay.
More towards Niagara, but he did work for Kodak.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and I mean, everything, so much is Kodak. The the Kodak Center is the big convention center. Pass by it every time I go to the mall. They have a lot of shows I want to go to, but money's tight right now. Shows are the best thing to spend on.
So Eastman, y'all will be pretty proud, I would think, to hear this. Way above his time when it came to diversity hiring, and because he hired a lot of people who were blind.
Okay.
But it benefited, not only did it benefit that community, it benefited him because he didn't have to worry about how people who are sighted would feel about working in the dark all the time.
Yeah.
And so he hired, people who were blind because it was dark rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when they had to, put that film in through the canister and everything. Mm-hmm. So, but still, he was still, a diversity hirer, I should say. Yes, it benefited him, but it also benefited that community, the community that couldn't necessarily get jobs. So I was always, a Kodak fan because of Mr. Eastman's practices for hiring.
It is interesting. Rochester, there's quite a bit of many different kinds of people that you meet. A lot of my customers that come into Starbucks are deaf. There's a very large deaf community in Rochester, and I think I don't remember. Someone told me why one time. I think it's there's a school for the deaf around here, or something like that, and there's a lot of programs to help people who are deaf, which is I mean, yeah, I think that's great, and you just meet a lot of people in Rochester.
I do hear positive things about the city of Rochester. When you were thinking about moving there, I was, of course, being mama, researching and doing all I could. But so I was really happy to hear that. It's a good place.
How different it is when you go outside, the city itself. This is this big little city in the middle of a whole bunch of farmland and country. Mm-hmm. Once you go outside the city, it's just farm, all the way to Buffalo.
Oh my goodness! And how far is that, Buffalo, from you?
It's an hour drive on the expressway. So if you pay tolls, it's an hour. It's a little over an hour if you want to avoid the tolls.
It's probably 50 miles or so. I don't know.
Well, probably a little more because the expressway is 70. You can go 70 on there. So it's about 60 miles, a little more than 60. Had to make that drive 3 or 4 times since I moved here for the photography job that I did.
Oh, wow. Okay. And did they pay you to commute, or did you get extra pay for the drive?
They paid we got mileage checks.
Good. All right, that's good. That's interesting. So, not sure how long you're going to be there. So, but if you are there next fall, you're going to work for that company again, you think?
I don't know. And it would be more just sort of personal disagreements with some of the owners. They were a little bit intense sometimes and a little micromanagey. And
artists can be that way. I know. I live with a whole bunch of them.
And it just
you all can be quite
I mean, there were a lot of parts of it that were great. A lot of it was very fun. Um, but I felt like a lot of the time the photographers were just blamed for everything. And like, we tried our best to be like very communicative with the schools and the teachers. But like, when it comes to an angry parent, like screaming at their lungs over the phone about like, their kid didn't get their like makeup pictures done half the time because the kid didn't want to get their pictures made up.
Yeah.
They just didn't want to. And like, there was one time there was this whole big mess of like screaming parents, screaming principals, screaming bosses, and it was just this one kid that was lying to his parents, and which in turn had the parents tell this lie to the principal, who had the principal sharing this lie to our bosses, who was calling us for, well, we're trying to do our work and trying to work really hard just because this kid didn't actually want to get his pictures retaken. And his mom was just forcing him to. And so he was so scared of how his mom was going to react that he just lied about it. And the blame fell on us. And it felt hard for us to just go out there and do our work, especially for those of us that like were really good at just like going out, doing our work, getting it done, and trying to do our best. Because in the end, it is about the students, and we're very focused on like, this is for the students. And I'm not to besmirch anyone, but teachers, I need the teachers to remember that picture day is about the students. Please. It's not your headshot. It's not time for your headshots. Right. It's about the students. It's for them.
Yeah.
So you had a few professionals that lead the class doing like their glamour shots or something?
Yeah, like a lot of teachers like, I understand like teachers having like tight schedules and stuff like that. And like, most of the time, most of the schools scheduled a time just for their teachers, like before school started, and would do all that they could to be like, hey, teachers, come here early, come in early, come in early. There's a time just for you when no students will be going, and then we'll get no teachers coming in that time half the time. Like, we'll get no teachers during the block just for them, and then like, they're just all coming trying to cut in line in front of the students, being like, well, I don't have time. I need to get mine done first. But we had a time for you.
Yeah. Now I can
get it done. Then the students would have to lose their opportunity.
The way, and obviously your company is doing it different because you've scheduled that, but the company that did ours in North Carolina, it was because they knew the teachers had the tough schedules. They always said, as soon as you see a teacher come, they move to the front of the line.
Yeah.
Because they were doing it during their planning period.
Yeah. Which, like, a lot of times in the elementary schools, the student's teacher, because the students only have one teacher other than the music teacher and art teacher, but the student's teacher would bring them down and either get theirs done first or make sure all their students got done and then do theirs, which there's nothing wrong with that.
No, that makes perfect sense.
It fits into the schedule just fine. It's the issue is like, we had a very, 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 very tight schedule. We would show up half the time an hour before any of the teachers would get there, and we would be there when the teachers were leaving. And especially during the high schools, a lot of the high schools, we'd come in before they open, before any teachers are there. We'd be leaving an hour after they close. And I feel like a lot of the teachers thought their schedule was like so much tighter than ours. And it's like, well, our schedule is like, literally, we have seconds in between. Like, we have one class come, 10 minutes, we've got another class. In 10 minutes, we've got another class. In 10 minutes, so if we're taking like 20, 30 minutes to do your class, then all those other classes are falling behind. which that did happen one day where I was lead photographer. We had a scheduled teacher time, and a lot of the teachers didn't come in the like first part of that scheduled time, but like towards the end of it. And so like we had all these teachers telling students to wait, like line and line and line of teachers telling students to wait, while we're cutting into the first block of students, gone, all being done by all teachers, both two photographers, both still doing teachers, even though we said we need to start doing classes. Second block of classes, still doing teachers. By the time the third block came around, I shut my camera down for teachers. I said, all teachers, you're going over to that camera, and I'm going to start taking students down. And we were already 30 minutes behind in our schedule.
Yeah.
And I got a call from the boss, like, why are you 30 minutes behind?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'll tell you when I get back. I can't say it right now because they're right over there at that camera. But you know, we did actually get caught up by lunchtime. I like pushed my lunchtime back. I like staggered our lunch breaks so that I spent the lunch break that we had scheduled doing classes, like taking pictures of classes, and then like I had like a lunch break after that. Although most of the time I had just worked through my lunch break because it helped to get a lot of things organized. There's so much that can get like lost, and if you don't keep it organized, so many things go wrong. So I would spend most of my lunch breaks just organizing things.
I remember one year, Brooke, they put a different person in the yearbook in Brooke's place.
That was in kindergarten, yeah.
Okay. And so their solution was they just sent us stickers of Brooke. And in Brooke's yearbook, we were supposed to put a sticker in. So we had to cover another kid's face. And it was just like, really? I mean, this is the solution. But it was the only one they had. And so, of course, I was not happy about it.
That happens so easily.
Yeah, I can see that. And I really was unhappy about it. But, I mean, I'm over it now. And it's so funny. But I want to know, what kind of camera do y'all use for that?
We used a Canon. I don't remember the exact camera, but you know, just like regular DSLR Canon.
Okay, 35 millimeter film.
Well, it was digital.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, everything's digital now.
Sorry, I'm old. I just immediately thought film because I used to process school pictures, you know. But it was done on I think 120. I think was the film, but I don't know. So it is a digital camera, and so yeah. Wow. Okay, so it kind of makes it good. But what about the lighting? So obviously you see our lighting's not perfect here.
Yeah, there was a whole setup. We had to bring this big case with us every time. So every day there would be a lead photographer, someone who's picked. It's pretty random who they pick. They're just like, oh, this person knows this school pretty well. This person was lead photographer last time at the school. They know the principal. I'll have them be lead. But basically, the lead photographer's job is just get there 10 minutes early, get everyone's cases ready to go, get everything ready to load up everything on the computers, have it all ready, and then you have at most 10 minutes to load everything in all the cars and get going down the road. Especially for the days when we're like out towards Buffalo, we gotta be there like 4:50 in the morning to get all the cases ready, load it in the car, and get down the road so we can get to school on time. And it was a big case. The case itself was probably about like 40 to 50 pounds. But it had wheels. Yeah. Except for the one case where one of the wheel was falling off the entire time. That was interesting. Almost always I knew someone that had that case. So yeah, and a lot of times the same photographers will be using the same case throughout the season because every little camera has its own little bugs and ticks. Every set has its own like little issues. And if you're using the same set over and over again, you just know it and everything like evens out. Right. The set I used throughout most of the season, the lens had all the lenses had like a little mask on them. So it has like a line for the head, line for the chin, line. Some of them have like a line for the eyes, and it has like a circle for the head or something like that. Or like it has like a little thing for where you're supposed to put the chin. This is where the top of their head's supposed to be, so you can get it lined up. And mine, the like mask in the lens, like, or in the viewfinder, was like a little bit off to the left. So I always had to like line my mask up like here, and then when on the computer, it would be perfectly lined up.
See, that would be tough to learn.
Yeah,
because I'd have to have one that was perfectly aligned.
My first day out, one of my friends, she had that set, and all her photos were like off on the computer, and she's like, "Why is it like this?" And we figured out it was because the lens was off. And so the rest of the season, I got assigned that set, and I figured out exactly where I needed it to be, so that all my pictures were just centered every time.
Okay, that's good.
We need to.
Okay, so
we need to start talking about the topic.
It's okay.
It's gonna.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to talk about was when y'all were kids. What was I wanting?
About like the sports we did as.
Oh yeah, this is what I want to talk about. So when y'all were kids, we always wanted y'all active, doing something, and so. You chose early on, like when how old were you when you started karate?
That was when we were living in Massachusetts.
Yes.
I was probably like 5 or 6.
Okay, yeah. Which is about how old you were with dance. You were 6. Okay. Okay, so.
And that started because like we got invited to one of my friends at school's birthday party was at the karate studio. And I guess I just like, I don't even really remember much of this like birthday party, but I really liked it, and it just drew me in.
Yeah, and then so from karate, we moved from Massachusetts to North Carolina for a little bit, and we were in a small town in North Carolina for a little while, and then we moved to Wake Forest, and that's when you got into.
Taekwondo.
Yeah. So, what are your memories of Taekwondo?
Oh, a lot of great memories. Like 9.5 years of just so many great memories. Especially like I remember all my teachers like so well. I mean, Master Jin Ho, like he was just a real mentor, a real true mentor. And I mean, I think about Master Mie every day. Like, like so many times, a lot of times I'll be like playing a video game and I'll be making a character and I'll just be like, I'm going to name this character Mie. Just after Master Mie. I miss her so much.
Yeah, I do too. I'm actually crying right now. You're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, I think about Doug a lot too.
I do too.
Especially because like, and I promise I'm not getting political, but like just I remember he talked heavily with me about like social justice and racial justice, and like I'm so glad I was able to like get his perspective on that. Just having conversation with him, and just like him driving me to Taekwondo practice and like teaching me, and like being around him and his like Olympic training buddies, like you know, that made a huge impact on me.
Absolutely. I think of him often. In fact, I'm following him on a few social medias, so, you know, but, yeah. I love Master Doug. You know, you had so many good teachers and role models there. I agree.
Yeah. And then to, in turn, like, be myself, like, a teacher and a mentor to others there. Like, and then have my friends who are teachers and mentors, one of them being my former mentor, becoming like a friend who is like a fellow teacher, and with Danny. And like, it was just, it truly was like a great enriching experience. And like, I mean, everyone deserves, because like sports teach a lot of like really great things and great values. Like, especially if they could be friendly competitive, Like I feel Taekwondo was very friendly, competitive, and that like we weren't like fighting against each other. We were fighting with each other to improve each other, and we
Mm-hmm.
were always like competing to make ourselves better. And it was never about like bringing the other side down. It was about lifting each other up and all getting better together. Uh,
I like
and
that.
you know, I love that. And like team sports can be this too. Like, you know, especially if we start to teach these team sports from
Mm-hmm.
that perspective of like we are working together as a team to make all of us better
Mm-hmm.
and to make the other side better too. Like they're competing against us, we're playing against each other so that each side can grow and get better. uh
Absolutely, because it's how we learn, right?
yeah.
We learn from mistakes. We learn from this competition because let's just face it. Sometimes you're going to come up against someone who's smarter than you, better than you at something. But you know what? You learn from that because
Hmm.
we learn from not always being the best. In fact, if we're
Hmm.
always the best, we actually don't learn and improve. We just kind of stay
Absolutely,
stagnant where
yeah.
we are.
The
So,
smartest people recognize that they don't know everything.
yes, yes,
Like if you think you know everything, we call that Dunning-Kruger. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think I agree that
hmm.
no matter what the sport is, and this, the only time y'all were teens is when y'all went to competitions. But your
Yeah.
everyday training, and you trained almost every day. You trained every day
Hmm.
except Sunday, right? Because
Well,
when you had
it
competitions, that
varied.
was on Saturdays. Sometimes your competitions were Saturday and Sunday. But when you were
Yeah.
doing a belt ceremony, that was always on a Saturday or Friday night or something like that. But
Yeah.
other than that, you were there almost every day.
Yeah,
Just
and
like
then
with
especially,
Brooke's dance. Brooke was at
yeah,
dance every day.
Yeah.
And so that's
especially
kind of how you
once
improve and
I
get better.
became a black belt too. Like, and once Doug started teaching, and like he had his like Sunday sparring classes for adults that was with him and his Olympic training partners. Like I liked going to that a lot. That was great. It was especially great to get like recognized by like actual like professional athletes as
Hmm.
like you're good. Like
Yeah,
hearing
that
that
does feel good.
from people that like I'm like you competed in the Olympics and you like that feels amazing.
But that was funny because when y'all were younger, we always wanted y'all to do something just to stay
Mhm.
active. And
Yeah.
I mean, it was to stay active. It was to be involved in something other than being at home, and it wasn't about we didn't want you to be on video games. It wasn't about that. It
Mhm.
was always about you finding a way to be comfortable in social settings.
Yeah.
And this was before we knew anything. I mean, I had not been um, I didn't know a lot about autism and social anxiety. I didn't know a lot about that stuff. I just knew I was never comfortable in social
Mhm.
settings, and so I, I chose sports. I wasn't, I didn't have an opportunity when I was really young. I guess sports were chosen for me.
Mhm.
But by the time I got to middle school, I chose sports. And so, but it was always, um, it, we didn't, I didn't grow up in a family where we could do private stuff the way y'all got to do stuff.
Mhm.
Everything that I did was rec league. It was with what was available through the county that my parents
Mhm.
didn't have to pay for anything. They paid like a $20 fee at the beginning of a season, and that lasted for the whole year. That basically just paid for hot dogs at the end of the game, when so that you didn't have to pay for your own stuff, kind of thing. But so I was always involved in rec league stuff and school sports. And so, but your dad, he grew up differently, so he wanted y'all to have your own thing, and
Mhm.
so to let y'all choose it. It was funny because, like you said, you went to a birthday party, and I
Yeah.
don't know if you said, because I didn't go to that birthday party with you. Your dad went with you to that birthday party, and evidently this conversation came up on the way home. So I don't know if Dad brought it up or if you brought it up. But anyway, by the time you were home, you were ready to do karate. Yeah, you may have even
Yeah.
signed up already. Y'all may have already signed up
Yeah,
before.
probably.
And then, but I do remember when we moved to Wake Forest, that Brooke was about the age that you were in Massachusetts, and your dad said, "Okay, Brooke, your turn. What do you want to do?" And it
Yeah.
was dance.
And like I did enjoy, like I had times in between like karate and taekwondo, like where I did soccer.
Yep.
Which there was aspects of that I really liked. And like I mean I still love to like kick a soccer ball around. Like that's still something I really like. And if I have like friends to play soccer with, I love playing soccer with them. Uh,
Yeah.
and hockey, I mean, like I do still love hockey. If I could afford to like play hockey regularly, if I could afford like hockey gear that fits and skates and to go to like stick and pucks and stuff like that,
Yeah.
then I would love to do that. I love doing that. I love getting on the ice. I love like I love playing street hockey too. Like, but hockey is something that's like it's very limited and like um where you can do it and like what you need to do it and
Yeah.
having like the right times to do it. Like your schedule has to line up with the schedule of being able to go to an ice rink and get on there and play, go to a pickup game or something like that. And so that's a lot more difficult. But like Taekwondo was something that like yeah, you have to go there to learn it, but you can practice it anywhere at any time.
Yeah.
And like I mean there's just something about like martial arts in particular that just really drew me in. I love the meditative aspect of it. Like I want to start like learning and practicing Tai Chi at some point because it's great for meditation and just staying healthy.
I agree.
And I have heard about like they have like free Tai Chi classes around here that's sponsored by the University of Rochester. So if I have the right time available, then I hope to go to that.
I hope you will, because yes, Tai Chi, I agree, is very meditative, and it is an opportunity for you to really kind of get back to caring for your body and mind.
Hmm.
And I think Tai Chi would be perfect for you to do. And I really hope that you would get into that. Brooke's got to get back to once it warms up. Brooke's gonna do her more dance reels and get back to dance, because this is what Brooke wants to do. I mean, so she's gonna build that back into her schedule. Speaking of schedules, wow, when y'all were all doing your own things.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, because there was 4 different activities.
Yes, 4 different activities. And like I
parts of
said, it was
town.
every day of the week. None of you could drive. Yeah, we're all young. And so there were so many things I could say about that minivan. But I guess I just thank God for the minivan. It smelled. It smelled all the time. The hockey gear. Oh yeah,
Never
don't
The
even.
hockey gear and the dance bag.
Between hockey and dance,
And Taekwondo.
but I'm not. No, and Taekwondo. Let me tell you something. Yes, Taekwondo smelled just as bad as everything else, because
You sweat just as much.
Oh, yeah.
it is. And
Was
Ren
the least smelly?
No, because
The soccer.
I just recently.
Sorry.
all the time.
Okay.
So I'm sorry. Anyway,
I just recently like remembered like there was that one time I got MRSA from my Taekwondo.
Yes,
I just
and
thought
then it
about
went
that.
through. It went through all. Well, it was you and your brother. No, you and both your brothers that were at the house at the time got it pretty bad. So you, Ren, and Mason all got it, and it was just. I don't know. Unfortunately, Brooke got other stuff. You can be upset if I mention lice.
Oh no!
The lice.
I did
It
like
was just,
3 times.
It was never.
I did like 3 times.
It just, we could not get rid of it.
It wasn't
we
just
cleaned
the
and
lice
cleaned
either.
and cleaned and I know.
It was the Fifth's disease, which I still
Fifth's
get
disease, yes,
reactions.
absolutely. I think I'm getting a rash now, right?
My hands
Just,
are dry.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So it just, but, so that's a downside to the sports. And look, I mean, I say this all the time on this podcast. I promise you, Emilia, I do. I kept things mostly clean. And I was a fanatic about the cleanliness of y'all's equipment. And but the schedule was this. I mean, I absolutely could not work because
Yeah.
the schedule of getting y'all to and from places on time, and there were just times that I was having to drop one at one site and drop one at another site, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
thank goodness all of them were right there in that little town that we were in.
I
Well,
know.
What a
Right?
great town
In-
that was, right?
Was it 4th grade that I had to leave school early every Tuesday to get to dance class on time?
I don't remember what grade it was, but thank goodness your teacher didn't mind. Because, yeah, I would have to get this one out of school early because we had to make the rounds with everybody. And then we'd drop one off and
the
then say, hey, I
car.
got to get the other one to this. I got to get my other one to this. I promise I'll be back in an hour. And it was just always, but you know what? I don't know how I did it,
I mean,
but I loved it. I thrived on it.
Yeah.
And
Once I learned to drive, like that definitely helped a lot. Like I was able to pick Brooke up and take her places.
Yeah.
Half the time, Ren would be going with me to Taekwondo. So
yes,
like,
yeah. Once Ren left soccer and picked up Taekwondo, that was instead of 4 different things, it turned into 3. But yeah, Mason did hockey about year round. You were in dance year round. Taekwondo was year round. So there was, we would take that 1 week in the summer. But honestly, that was, we would do that vacation week.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was kind of it. I mean, it was a busy life, but I loved it. I mean, I loved it, and sometimes I have a really hard time just reading a book because I feel like I have too much time on my hands. So, it's kind of funny. I remember people asking me, "How did you do it?" But honestly, I'd have never been able to finish school during that time. There's no way. And thank goodness you were here to help me edit my dissertation. You were here during that time right before I finished, and we were able to change all the right things because I'd started it out with one thing and I had to fix it. And so, but yeah, it just, what a life. We had a great. I hope y'all can look back on it one day and it can be just as great for you as it was for me. I love you kiddos. So blessed. So
I mean, yeah, I definitely recognize that. Like, I had a great family and a great childhood growing up.
Good.
Especially some of my coworkers will talk about their relationships with their parents and how their parents are, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe people actually have parents like that.
I wonder because that I'm glad to hear you really do feel differently because I think when y'all were younger, when y'all were teenagers, I think y'all were kind of typical teenagers in the way y'all thought about it.
Yeah.
Y'all thought y'all were just y'all don't know how to do anything. Y'all are this, y'all are that, and I don't think y'all recognize the.
I mean, everyone knows
what all we did, right? And
that's just being a teenager.
Yeah, that is, and I hope,
authority figures.
I hope parents that hear this know that this is typical teenage behavior. Your teenagers, if you are loving them, they may act like they don't care, and they may say horrible things to you. But I can promise you this: if you're doing it right, and you stand by them, they're going to recognize it when they're adults. Because we're typical teenagers. I mean, fortunately, not so much that you hurt other people or did damage to the house in ways that were too expensive to repair. But I'm talking to you, by the way. I don't know how many holes there are in the wall. Because you opened the door too hard, you're running. You were chasing the dog one time. Chasing Charlie around what we called the track through the dining room and living room. And you came out to the hall and you slid. You had socks on and you slid on the wood floors and your knee went straight into the wall. And I was like, oh my goodness. There's a hole in the wall.
there was one time I was staying over at Amber, like with the Whirlies, and me and Amber were playing in her room, and she was like, "Let's make a slip and slide out of my dance mat." And we thought this was a great idea until my knee went through the wall, and she hid that hole for years. She was just like, "Just help me push this in front of it, and they'll never find it." And it was years and years and years later. I remember like them moving this whatever we pushed in front of it, and Angie being like, "Where did that hole come from?"
Well, yeah, you did put holes in walls. So I hope people out there don't think it's because you were constantly. I, I wouldn't. I would not classify your. I wouldn't classify it as anger. It was we didn't know. Like this was
Yeah.
long before we knew how to understand autism and how to understand that you just need to get this out. And so it might sound like rage when it's not really rage. And so
Yeah.
I think it helped that, you had friends that would come over and I'll never forget. You had this one friend. And I know you know who I'm talking about. And he came over and, this was when he had the Rickroll thing going. Okay?
Oh.
Okay. And so then y'all wanted to make a fort in the living room. And so I said, oh, okay. So we went and got lots of blankets and pillows, and y'all built this fort in the living room. And I'll never forget his mother coming to pick him up and brought her on through because y'all were in the fort. And I said, well, they're in the fort. And she just looked at me. And then when she saw what had happened, she was like, this would not happen in my house. She said, I couldn't do this. She said, I don't know how you do it. I said, I couldn't figure out what she was talking about. I said, what do you mean? She said, this mess. I could not. They can't do this in my house. I was like, it's just a fort. I said, it's just blankets and pillows. They will eventually get put on, but yeah, she absolutely could not. She was like, that's not going to happen in my house. So, but anyway, I'm glad y'all had a good childhood. I'm really glad. I'm glad that I know things aren't perfect in the world right now. As of course, I wish we were all living in the same space.
I am honestly terrified of living in the U.S. and
I'm terrified too.
Would prefer to move to another country if possible. Yeah. Like it is scary.
Absolutely.
Move to Spain. Their transgender rights are great.
We hadn't mentioned that.
I see plenty of Cybertrucks around here. Okay. I'm seeing more and more Cybertrucks every day
on this show.
Okay.
What?
What to do?
I'm sorry,
I'm seeing more and more Cybertrucks every day.
That can't come into that can't come into our conversation because I ain't got nothing good to say.
Definitely, like sports are such an important, like, building block of character and like, and like if I mean, obviously, it's not something that should be forced on someone if they really just don't want to do it. Like, I mean, Rin tried so many different sports and nothing really like clicked with him that he really wanted to stick with. And I mean, that's fine. Like he finds other outlets and other things and like other forms of expression. But like the idea of like anyone just not being blocked from sports for who they are, that's something like, and like, I'm not going to get too much into this, but like, it's especially for children. There's no reason for it. Like, allow people to do sports.
Absolutely. I agree. And my thing is, what helped me with sports, there were a lot of things that sports benefited me. One, it helped me learn how to at least try to make friends. I'm not saying I ever learned how to make friends, because I didn't really learn how to make friends. But it helped me at least be in a space with other people.
Yeah.
And so that I could learn to understand that I'm never going to be always alone the way I prefer. And so I think that's how that helped me. But I lived in a much different time than what y'all did. And I think that sports during my time, it certainly where I grew up, it was very competitive. And, you know, like I said, I mean, I grew up so I'm so poor. I grew up poor enough that we could only afford rec league stuff, and that kind of made a difference too for me,
Mm-hmm.
because I dreamed of being a rockette too.
Yeah.
I used to want to sing, and
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be a singer, and there was never money for me to do those kinds of private things.
Mm-hmm.
And so
And like,
I think that when kids have an outlet for not just expression, but to stay active so that you don't age so quickly. You need to.
yeah,
This is health. I mean, this is for your physical and mental health, and I
and
think
also
that needs to be part of the conversation.
yeah, and also to get back to the social aspect of it,
Hmm.
like I think back, like all the sports I did growing up. Well, most of them, hockey, not as much, but like soccer, like karate, taekwondo. I did those sports with boys and girls,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
like that especially like so much I feel like is gender segregated for like no real specific reason, especially when it comes to younger
Mhm.
like kids and like younger teens. It's like there's not a real reason for like soccer for 6 to 12-year-olds to be gender segregated in any way, and like it wasn't for me, which is good. I
Hmm.
feel like that made it like it felt very normal to me to talk to girls as even like as growing up as a boy being trans now, like it made it very normal. And I feel like especially I see a lot on the internet kind of like young boys and young men like kind of thinking of women and girls as like a different species, and it's like
Mhm.
that's why these like cross like social connections like are very important. And then just also then furthering like trans people being not being able to compete in sports when they're young, there's like no reason for that. There's no like competitive edge. It's just like it's important for the social aspects, because when you're like interacting with more people that are different than you will realize that these differences are very superficial, and
Hmm.
like really as people they're still just people. And like I feel like if this were just more commonplace to point out and recognize like, hey, let's talk about how the good of like these integrated social aspects, and like you know it's very good to point out, see there, yes, this person has some differences than you, but inside they're just a person,
Mhm.
like just like you, just like me, and just like everyone else, and we're all people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I saw that a lot, like with dance, because growing up, we had like no boys at all in the dance
Hmm.
in any of my dance studios, except like we had one or two,
Hmm. They were
and
brothers
one
though.
of them. No, that well, wait.
No way.
Oh yeah. But I'm talking about like Bailey and
Hmm.
someone anyway. But yeah, we didn't have, and so like when I was getting older, instead of like stuff that I should have learned, like I should have been learning like partnering and stuff, but I couldn't because we didn't have the proper like
Hmm.
people to do it. And so when I get to college, it's like, oh, there's so many things like I can't do because
Hmm.
I can't like go into this space with the same experience that maybe other people had growing up in a bigger city where
Yeah.
it was seen as more normal for boys to be in ballet class.
Hmm.
And it's just like it's so crazy because I always wanted to do like partnering and stuff and I
Hmm.
never really got to.
And that's something I wouldn't even think about that.
Mm-hmm.
As the mother
Yeah.
of a dancer, I would never even think about how important it was for you to be in a space where there were opportunities for you to learn
Mm-hmm.
partnering
Yeah.
in your dance. I just wouldn't even think of it. I really, you know, it never dawned on me when you were in dance class that it would be great if there were, you know, other people,
Mm-hmm.
different genders
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah, I mean, like we even
Hmm.
had classes where it was only like two of us in the class,
Hmm.
and it was just like two girls. So I mean, even then, like you're still losing out on a lot of opportunities to be working with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I think about especially like because so many people have this perception that like all women are just like so fragile and
Mm-hmm.
frail, and
Yeah.
like can't like stand up for themselves, can't fight for themselves. And I think back to Taekwondo, especially all the time, think back to who could kick my butt from here to next week. She was the Taekwondo master. Like, was a real one. And like, I mean, no one who knew think she was frail.
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, like I was thinking about this recently, like any like professional ballerina, they are so strong. They look skinny and frail, but the abs, like their abs, because they're doing all the work. Yeah, I mean they're doing all the work in the lifting. Like the guys just have to lift them. They have to hold themselves up the entire time. It's crazy.
Absolutely. And that's
I mean, I never felt like anyone at that Taekwondo studio thought that like a girl couldn't spar against a boy. Like, no, everyone there was equal. Like, we were all, it was more about like, well, this person's big and this person's big, so they should probably be sparring with each other. They're about the same size. Oh, this person's really strong and like kicks really hard, but this person's like so fast, then they're never going to get hit. And it was considerations like that were just like, it was more about skill matchup than like gender segregation. And I mean, I especially think sports should start to look more into like either having more mixed leagues and things. Like there should be a lot more options for integrated sports between the genders, like mostly because like so many of these sports, like women couldn't compete at the same level, if not higher, than men.
Oh yeah, we were just watching a women's soccer game earlier, and it was crazy. It was good.
Think about how many times the U.S. women's team has won the World Cup, has won.
They have an Olympic gold medal.
Think about how few times the U.S. men's team.
Oh, the U.S. men's team is like bad compared to the women's team. They're garbage. And
it's like. I mean, the U.S. men's team definitely could not even beat the U.S. women's team.
No way.
In a game. No, for sure. Like,
well, actually, it's the same in England. With the England women's team, has won more international championships than the men's team.
I mean, yeah, I bet. Like,
but I know when I did stage combat last spring, it was obviously it was a mixed class because it's college and they're not gonna like separate it. And I was told by my professor, an older man who, let's be honest, sometimes he could be a little sexist. But I mean, it was more obviously a product of his time than like straight up being like discriminatory. But he told me to my face I was probably the toughest person in the class. And, like, we had some big guys in the class. Like, I'm talking, like, 2 or 3, like, big guys. And I was the shortest, right? So, I mean, yeah. I mean, and they also knew that I could take almost any of them. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about, like, professional wrestlers. Those guys are all huge. They were all theater kids. Like, they were all drama kids in high school. And they were just like, well, I'm good at getting, like, big, so I can like give off this perception that I'm like this big, tough, scary fighter, and that's how I'm gonna make money. Like, this is my acting job.
Yeah, we probably gotta wrap it up though because it's getting really long.
Yeah, my iPad is actually almost dead too.
Okay. Well, gosh, thank you so much. So we're gonna kind of do the ending thing, but then don't hang up just yet.
Okay.
Well, we really appreciate you being with us today. We hope you enjoyed the conversation.
We'll be back next week with a new bottle of wine and a new topic. If you want to join the conversation, follow us on Instagram and TikTok at WineTogetherPod. And if you don't want to miss out on our regular weekly episodes along with all our bonus content, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, as well as subscribing, liking, and commenting on our YouTube Wine Together Podcast.